Hey guys, what is up? Aoki here with a final update on NEEKO. Her abilities have officially dropped completely in English, thankfully, this time. So here we get a look at her splash art, kind of a preview of her splash art. And we're going to be going through her abilities one by one, guys. This is NEEKO, the Curious Chameleon. Who is she? That depends. Who are you? That's kind of clever. A shapeshifter from a long-lost tribe of the Vastaya, NEEKO watches the world with wide eyes and endless curiosity, always looking for something new to be. She may not seem dangerous at first glance, but keeping a close eye on her. With NEEKO, things are never quite as they appear. So guys, first up, let's look at her passive, which is called Inherent Glamour. As we've seen before, she just completely, there's not even an animation for it, just boom, instant. She takes on the ability of an allied champion, damaging or taking damage from enemy champions or casting either Blooming Burst or Tangle Barb, which is her other abilities, breaks the illusion and increases the cooldown. So there is a cooldown on her ability, on her passive, but I do like how there's like no animation at all. It's just completely super fast because I could see this working for the first couple of days that she was out. But if there was, a long animation, like 2 or 3 seconds of like, some sort of like cloak going over her, I could see, sharper-eyed viewers once we're all used to NEEKO's running around, catching that out. So guys, let's move on to her Q, Blooming Burst. NEEKO propels a seed into a target area, which blooms and damages enemies. If the bloom, if the burst kills an enemy or damages a champion or large monster, it will bloom up again 2 times. Okay, so if it kills the minion, it will bloom again up to 2 times. So if her next one should kill this one, boom, there's another one. Or if it hits a champion or a large monster, implying that she's going to be a jungler, it will do that bloom 3 times. So a little bit of a control magey thing. I think this is going to be her wave clear. I think this is going to be her main damaging ability, her main trading ability. Blooming Burst, guys. Get used to it. Shape Splitter. Now here's where NEEKO's uniqueness really comes into play because W shape is her Shape Splitter. It's kind of hard to say. Passive. Every third basic attack resonates with spiritual enemy, dealing bonus magic damage and briefly increasing NEEKO's movement speed. So nothing too interesting here. It's the old Riot 1, 2, 3 hit passive. But the active is where it gets really interesting. NEEKO briefly slips out of sight, becoming invisible. So it's kind of like Vayne's ult, where she tumbles and is briefly invisible, or Kai'Sa's, I believe that's her E, where she becomes invisible. Briefly slips out of sight, becoming invisible, gaining movement speed, and sending a temporary clone of her current form sprinting in a chosen direction. So this is what we saw in the initial NEEKO trailer, where she's running down the river disguised as Hecarim. Sends the fake one out. That's how we saw those 3 Hecarims, right? Because she's disguised as Hecarim, and she has her W, which she can send to a location, and that will be the fake third Hecarim that then explodes. So we'll watch it one more time here, guys. She takes on Karma's ability. Boom, presses W right here. That's where the fake Karma goes. Explodes, deals magic damage. So this is where NEEKO's kit gets really, really interesting. This is one of the most unique things we've seen outside of we've seen similar things to it, like Trickster's Glass, that old League of Legends item that I mentioned, and also we've seen LeBlanc's clone that is able to do this, but it doesn't deal magic damage. It doesn't deal magic damage, so this is something completely new. This is like you're playing as a spy from Team Fortress 2. Please tell me you guys know what Team Fortress 2 is, or I'll feel really, really old. So now going on to her E is Tangle Barbs. So this is kind of like a Lux ability. NEEKO slings a magical spiral in a direction, damaging and briefly rooting enemies it passes through. The last champion hit is rooted longer. If Tangle Barbs hits at least 2 enemies, it grows in size, speed, and root duration. So as you can see, after it hits 2 enemies, it grows in size, speed, and root duration. So NEEKO slings a magical spiral in a direction, damaging and briefly rooting enemies. So it damages all of these, and it roots all of them. The last champion hit is rooted longer. That's actually interesting. I misinterpreted that when we did the Portuguese translation. Um, okay, so they're all damaged, all rooted. That's honestly crazy. That's like a better Lux. I'm really starting to think that this is going to be like the new Lux support sort of thing. It's like Lux plus LeBlanc, and if you guys haven't seen this ultimate yet, oh my gosh, prepare yourselves, because this ultimate is truly something else. This is called Pop Blossom. NEEKO begins charging herself with spiritual essence. A moment later, she leaps into the air, gains a shield, and slows nearby enemies, releasing energy upon landing to massively damage and stun enemies in the area. When disguised by inherent glamour, enemies won't see NEEKO's initial charge up. So, when she's disguised as someone else, so you can walk into the middle of the enemy, let's say you're disguised as the tank, they won't see the charge. So all of a sudden, they're just going to take all this damage. They're going to be rooted and stunned. They're going to take, I mean, look how much damage this is. It's insane. So this is where a lot of the strength of her kit is. People have been saying, I've seen on Reddit and YouTube, that people have been saying, she doesn't really have a lot of damage. I think she's going to be not this role, not this role. This is where her damage and a lot of the strength comes in. Previously, and the abilities we've seen before, the strength comes from mind games. From outthinking your opponent, outwitting your opponent, being sneaky, going invisible, disguising yourself, sending your fake clone off. This is just a straight up super strong, souped up version of a Nunu Amumu ult. So NEEKO begins charging herself with Spiritual Essence. A moment later, she leaps into the air. That's the animation we saw, where she jumps up. So she's stuck in position at the end of the ult, releasing enemy energy upon landing to massively damage and stun enemies in the area. She also gets this huge shield, so any enemy that's able to retaliate, like maybe outside of the circle, let's say she gets Malphite ulted, she has that huge shield to protect her. So this is not only a super strong kind of stealthy move, because they won't see the charge up, so it can come out of nowhere. It's like an ambush move. It's a defensive move because it's the only way that she gives herself a shield. And it's also a huge nuclear bomb that goes off. I don't know if this is if they just have no items just for the sake of the video to make the ability look strong, but look how much damage that is dealing. That is a crazy team fighting ability, you guys. So let's go ahead and watch some of the playing as NEEKO. As NEEKO, you slip into the skin of your allies to bewilder enemies and surprise them with bursts of colorful primordial magic. Trip up foes you encounter with Tangle Barbs, rooting them with the painful petals of Blooming Burst as it flowers again and again. When you're ready to seek out something more exciting, draw on your inherent glamour to mimic the appearance of an ally and scurry off to a new encounter. That's so cool, man. Once your curiosity startles foes into combat, use the clone from Shape Splitter to keep opponents confused while you reposition and prepare a special surprise. When you're ready to reveal it was you all along, jump in the middle of the fight so you can flash, I'm assuming, while this thing is charging up. While your ultimate is charging up, I'm assuming you can flash into the middle of them and just all of a sudden, boom, they're stunned. It's like literally the best ability in the game. I don't understand how this is going to be remotely balanced. But I have faith in Riot, guys. Hello, enemy. Hello, NEEKO. Tips and tricks. So NEEKO's tricks change as she does. Here are a few ways to use the shape-shifting magic of Inherent Glamour. Copying an ally with melee at shorter range is a sneaky setup for Tangle Barbs and Blooming Burst combo. You'll catch foes who think they're at a safe distance completely by surprise. Similarly, transform into an ally with the hook and watch his foes outplay. Oh, that's actually so funny. You could disguise yourself as a Thresh or a Blitzcrank or a Nautilus, and they'll hide behind creeps or they'll try to dodge. All of a sudden you reveal that you aren't that character. Tangle Barbs will still hit them and they'll be rooted for even longer. That's so good, actually. So if they try to hide behind minions so that the root doesn't, or the hook that you don't actually have doesn't hit them, they'll be rooted longer. Disguise yourself as your jungler to fake a gank in another lane. Foes will burn their escape moves out of instinct or be distracted when the real threat strikes. So the reality is a lot of these things are going to be initially very useful, but the meta and the mind games are going to become less and less productive and less effective when we know what playing against NEEKO truly feels and looks like. So 2 months from now, when we've all had NEEKO in several of our games and we've played against them and we like her or hate them, we'll kind of be able to adapt to that. You know what I mean? We won't be taken off guard by and completely confused. For instance, if they lock in a NEEKO, we'll pretty much know they're trying to do these tricks. But it'll be really interesting to see if she's more effective in solo queue or in pro play, because these abilities, this kit is so loaded that I have to believe that a smart adept mid laner with her or a smart clever support with her can do crazy things even at the highest level of play. But I'm wondering if the constant comms that solo queue players, or that the pro players have, the second that NEEKO goes missing, people are constantly going to be on mic saying oh, that's not the real one, that's not the real one. So it'll be interesting to see if she's more effective in solo queue or more effective in pro play. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this champion. I'm going to link this page down to you guys in the description. Here is her winter skin that we saw in the trailer. So kind of nice, kind of interesting. Yeah, guys, that's NEEKO, the Curious Chameleon. I would love to hear your thoughts on him. Let me know down in the comments. Take it easy. Peace.